gentlemen, welcome back. It's Thursday, 7th of May. Just doesn't feel like it, Pete.
Yeah.
We haven't had that run of really, really great weather here that we were looking for in the spring. And Memorial Day's right around the corner, so it looks like spring got kind of hijacked this year.
We're stuck in April.
We certainly are. Pete Coles, Rich Sutter, dynamic duo of the hoop world that has not been anything like this since Redford and Newman in the Sting, and it's just been great to work with Pete. We're here again to jump right off into Pete's Corner segment of the show that we love. Pete's got his logo up. We have not had this segment for 2 weeks, so I'm expecting Pete to come out fired up, ready to go today, because we've had some great guests recently, and when we have guests, we kind of put Pete's Corner on the back burner because it just eats up so much time with the guests. You know, we just have to,
sure.
We rock and roll. Last week we went over 30 minutes and it was just great interview. So let's rock and roll, Pete.
All right. Do you feel the Celtics had a successful season, and why?
I do because I've been in this business a long time. You can't measure everything at the end, and that's what people have a tendency to do. How did this season end? And for them, you could say it was a little bit disappointing in the end. But overall, you and I have talked about this a good bit on the show, and it's one of the reasons that I don't know that people should be calling for Missoula's head right now, and there are some people doing that. I think, you know, you're in a situation where and I'm going to be full mea culpa today, I said they were not going to be, you know, they probably have trouble being a playoff team.
Yeah, I remember that.
You know, I just thought they had lost so much. Porzingis, they lost Horford, they lost Jrue Holiday, they lost so much in such a short time that I thought any representation of a playoff run this year and anything that went, you know, anywhere near respectability, you know, was going to be a good season. And they certainly met that measure. You know, to me, they had a really good season. They finished, you know, what was they, second in the Eastern Conference this year? And if you went off and said to everybody, just about everybody in the basketball world, hey, Celtics, with all of their losses and Jason Tatum being out with an Achilles injury for most of the year, the Celtics are going to run number 2 in the Eastern Conference Finals. And everybody would be like, no way. You know, nobody would believe that. Even diehard Celtics fans would have a hard time swallowing that one. So where they wound up, you know, it's obviously a successful season. Now, let's segue. Let's talk about the playoffs. You know, the ending. You know, you and I, again, have talked about this a good bit. And I think it's one of the things that you've brought to the table in our show is that this discussion about chemistry. And how chemistry is so vital to this thing, although everybody kind of acts like it's not in the way that they do their business. Trade a player, get after this, you know, change your locker room every 3 months. It's one of those things where it's still human, still has human element, and I think you hit on it with the chemistry piece. And it's in this one, it's not sometimes you can have it like, okay, so let me describe it like this. You have overt chemistry. And then you have covert chemistry. You know, covert chemistry is the kind of chemistry that goes on where nobody likes each other. But they get on because they know they want to keep winning and they want to try and do something. There's been organizations like that all through basketball where the teammates didn't always get along. Okay? But they might have been still successful. You know? Then there's the other side of it where you have guys that are, you know, good people trying to get along, but it's also time on task in chemistry as well. You just can't have a guy that's out for as long as Jason Tatum was out and then bring him back, and it's not going to have some reverberation in the lineup, in the way things were going, in the way the rhythms of the basketball world were occurring at that time. And so that's why, yes, I think they had a great season. I also thought that was going to be a difficult thing to manage when they did bring Jason Tatum back late in the season, right before the playoffs. And it was, you know, something that I don't know that you can blame on the coach for having that difficult transition there as well. They ran
Right,
into
yeah.
They ran into a 76ers team that showed up healthy for the first time in a million years.
Right, and the 76ers have been having so many problems. Like, we thought that they were just kept falling and falling and falling.
Yeah, and they did, because at the end of it, for the whole year, it was really VJ Max. It was VJ Edgecombe and Tyrese Maxey.
Yep.
They're having chemistry issues right now as well, same kind of thing, because Embiid has been out for so long, Paul George has been out for so long, and now they're back in at the playoffs. You saw it maybe with LeBron too.
Now, that
out
was
for a very, very long time. Now Luka's out.
Let's go my next question, though.
Okay, so
let's transition to the
that
next
was
question.
a good one, though. I really enjoyed that one. Go, Pete.
The next question is were the Lakers playing chess all season long by keeping LeBron out? Because now he's carrying the team and potentially, I think this is his last run. I think if the Lakers get to the conference finals, he's all done.
Okay, a lot to unwrap there. Let's start with the Lakers. They're done.
You think so? Yeah,
They're
against Oklahoma.
done.
Yeah.
Okay, they ran into OKC, and they're done. They're done, and no Luka all the way through here so far has really, really been interesting. Is it over also, as you say? Because I've heard some of that. That this might be it with LeBron. He's gone out. After this. And if that is the case, do you have a guy like Luka and him just didn't get along, and he's waiting for LeBron to go and is going to wait until he steps out, letting him have the stage to go out? I don't know. But there's certainly something to talk about there. In the series, they're cooked. OKC's too good, and they don't have enough.
Yeah.
They just don't have enough
If
right
Luka
now.
was coming back, they'd have a shot at it.
And I would go on a little bit of a defense of LeBron is that he's playing really, really well right now.
Yeah.
He's playing at a very high level of basketball right now. He's still got spring in his legs. He can get to the rim and dunk. He can make good plays. He's making good reads.
Now, that was where my question rolls in. Did the Lakers play chess all season by holding him out with potentially phantom injuries?
I think in that instance, yes, with him, because it made him healthier and it kept him more, more alive, in his legs, certainly. You cut it down to 35, 40 games,
Right, yeah, sure.
half a season, it's certainly that not beyond the realm of possibility, that we could, that we could think that, did it work? It appears to have, he's playing really good right now, and he appears to be rested and at a different level than some of the other players too, quite possibly, But having no Luka, it doesn't matter how good he plays right now, because there's nobody else. There's nobody else that's stepping up and taking that, that run with them. He's all by himself out there right now playing at that level. When you talk about OKC, that's throwing Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at you, who's quite the superstar himself.
Sure, yeah.
And then you're going to throw in Holmgren and, Jay Will and all the other guys they got. It's just a landslide. The other way. LeBron can play well, and his numbers will be good. There'll be games where I don't think he'll be as good, but I think they're going home quick. I think the Thunder want to rest. I think they value the rest, and they're going to try and finish them as quick as possible.
So this is a smash match.
And if you saw them at the end of last year with the reaction they had to winning it all, it was very, very businesslike. I would describe it that way. It was very, very businesslike for a locker room that had just won the entire NBA championship. The Thunder's whole demeanor in that locker room looked like we're just getting started. And so I'd keep an eye on that team right now, because they have the business mentality right now to say, we need the rest. We're going to punch these guys out as fast as we can. We need the rest. We don't care if it's LeBron James or who. They're going home. And with no Luka, and even if they had Luka, it don't make a difference. It just doesn't make a difference. The chemistry's not there, as you and I alluded to, between those two. There's nobody else that's in that whole realm of all guys they got. It's one of the things about having LeBron James on your team is that he does have a tendency to suck all the oxygen out of the room.
Yeah.
And where are the other guys that every single NBA team has right now, but they don't have? And he's had a heavy involvement in the front office stuff, whether people want to believe it or not. And so
he's the general manager behind the scenes.
Absolutely, in my mind. And so, therefore, now you're saying, if you are the GM, why don't you have guys around you then? Why have the Lakers really been a little bit, I would say, when you look at Schroeder and some of the other guys that are around the NBA on other rosters right now, I'd say they've been a little hostile, to some of their talent, instead of nurturing it and keeping it and growing it. I just, I don't know. I really don't know. I just think, it's a great question because it has so many layers to it.
Yeah.
Right now, I didn't want to be trite, but I don't think that, of all the we'll do some of the analysis when we get further into the show of the whole NBA playoff setup right now when we do the Power 8 right after this. But you're talking about a situation where this is a big mismatch, in my opinion. A big mismatch. If the Lakers get a game, I'd be surprised. If they get a game from them, I'd be surprised. That's how business-like these guys are right now.
If OKC's business like that,
that's what they're all about right now. Yeah, they want to go in and go bang, bang, bang. They have an opportunity right now. They just swept in the first round. All right? They're going to be up in this one. You have an opportunity to go sweep, and go all the way through. Moses Malone style here. And I think that they're interested in that as well. I think this is a very highly dedicated unit of young men committed to what they're doing at this moment. It's special to watch. The only drama that you have right now in the NBA is, can somebody get it? Can somebody get it? Because right now I think the Spurs have the best shot at clipping the Thunder. I've always said that all year long. But also right now the Spurs are embroiled in a dogfight with the Timberwolves. Do they not get past the Timberwolves because they just got broken at home? So it's going to be really, really interesting in this next couple of weeks. And I think OKC wants to sit on top of the mountain that they're at right now and just win. All they can do is win and just stay on top of that mountain looking down at everybody else to see who comes out. Right now, they're big dog, and they're flexing. They're flexing big time. The Lakers haven't been able to get it going against them all year. I don't expect them to be able to get them going against them, in the near future. I think that the whistle that the OKC guys get is there's something peculiar about that. I want to say just that for what it is. But you also got guys that are playing defense off balance, leaving their feet, jumping in the air, and allowing him to gain that contact too. You have guys doing things that aren't fundamentally good things on defense. That's where he lives. You make a mistake, you pay for it. And some people don't like that brand of basketball, but for him, he's out there. A, he wants to protect his body. B, anytime he sees you off balance, he's leaning. He's coming into you.
You're talking about SGA, right?
He's coming into you with contact. He's coming into you with physicality. And then he's also, at that very same moment, creating separation from you and dropping into this drop back step that he has that's so beautiful. And then he's 3 feet away from you and he's wide open to shoot. So he's really, really got a good bag and a good game. Everybody's complaining about, well, he's drawing fouls all the time. Well, then here's some advice from In the Zone, fellas. Stay down.
Yeah, right.
Don't take all of his fakes. Get him off of his strong hand and push him the other way. There's 3 tips for you from In the Zone. Rather than jump, leave your feet, get off balance, allow him to do anything he wants with you. That's my advice.
All right, question number 3.
Shoot, Pete. You're hot today, Pete. You're hot.
All right, has the NHL money pool reached its peak, and is it enough to support a 76-team tournament?
NCAA.
Yes.
Tournament. 76. No bueno. That's just me.
for the amount of money out there.
Well, here's what it is.
Because I think the NIL money has reached its peak. I don't think it's going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Oh, I don't know.
I think that there's going to
Well,
people are going to say, no bueno, no more money.
Eventually, but right at this moment, it's apexing. Sean Miller, the coach of Texas, said you'll have at least 25 programs this year that have over $20 million spent.
Wow.
It's escalating. It's going wild. Now, it's going across the sky. It's a meteor. How far does it go? How fast does it burn out? That's what you're going to see. That's what you're talking about is the burn rate.
Right.
How much money is going up in the air right now?
Well,
do you have long-range plans for this? Like, hey, you're going to have a team 10 years from now. Do you have enough money to keep going that way? And as long as the TV people are there, Pete, because I got some numbers for you when we dig into the show a little bit.
All right.
There's some crazy, crazy numbers in the billions being thrown around to these conferences. Big Ten just cashed a huge check. As long as that TV money stays there, they're not going to budge. Okay. What's happening, though, and let's just jump into it right now because it buttresses into your question. They're canceling sports. The ancillary sports are under attack right now. Tennis under attack. Any of the ancillary sports that aren't big revenue sports right now, seriously under attack. I got an Alabama getaway for us later in the show that'll illustrate some of that, but I want to just keep rolling with what we got right now, okay? Because last night we had a big breakout on ESPN, a little throwdown. Pete, you would have likened it to your wrestling days. Right. Draymond Green, dirty. When I say dirty, I mean the dirtiest scoundrel in the NBA right now, Draymond Green, going up against Charles Barkley.
No.
And I'm going to settle this one for everybody very quickly. We've got a lot to do in the show, but this was going back and forth, and basically Barkley, and I want to say this too, because everybody kind of picks up the story where Draymond Green responds to Barkley. Okay, everybody just kind of picks it up there because here's what goes down. They bring Draymond on, and Barkley across the table just starts lighting him up. The Warriors are done. You're old. You're finished. Time to get off stage. He starts heating him up, Draymond initially comes out and says, well, they must have had a hug or something. Steve Kerr and Steph and him must have done a little brotherly love hug at the huddle at the end of it, and he said that hug wasn't for nothing, and that's how he started out. But then it got hostile. So then he turns to Barkley and he goes, hey, our only thing is to make sure we don't look like you in a Houston Rockets uniform.
Ooh.
So obviously that was the end of Chuck's career. At the end, I'm going to clean it up for people right now. Okay? And I'm going to, at the same moment, I want to call out Kendrick Perkins because he was a bum too. And I know he's on ESPN right now and he's an expert in everything. He was, okay? Somebody has to look this up. Draymond Green and Kendrick Perkins had games, many games where they had more turnovers than baskets. Okay? Now, he wants to go head-to-head with Charles Barkley. Dude, you were in the wrong weight class last night. All right? Charles Barkley's Hall of Fame, bro. Charles Barkley was a bad dude. Charles Barkley had double-doubles, triple-doubles. He scored on everybody. Charles Barkley was a really, really good basketball player. He wasn't my favorite guy in the world. I didn't like some of his antics, and I don't know, what went down in all of it, but I'm just going to put that out there. Okay? But if you're telling me we're having a comparison on a basketball hardwood-only comparison, and you got Draymond Green and you got Charles Barkley, let's put it out right now, folks. Lights out. And if anybody wants to come at me, go ahead. It's Barkley all day long, every day. Okay? Every day. Much, much better player than Draymond Green ever could think about being. All right? I get upset sometimes when people come out of their weight class. Draymond, you shouldn't have done it, lad. Shouldn't have done it. Okay, Joel Embiid is back out, Pete. He was out for the Knicks game last night. Here's something that, I want to kind of get into with that. The first game the Knicks played, the Knicks are now up 2-0. The Sixers gave them a really good game last night. Knicks only getting away much, much later in the fourth quarter when the Garden exploded with some key buckets. But the whole thing of it is that when they had Embiid in their first game, 76ers came out, Big Cat handled Embiid and gave him some business. And that kind of seemed to slow Embiid down. Now he has a hip injury and an ankle injury and didn't make game 2. Big surprise there. That he happened to get an injury and not be able to go, but they looked much better without him last night in the game, in game 2. Chemistry again, Pete. Guy who comes in and out, he's out for 40 games. Now all of a sudden he's healthy. Doesn't work. So anybody who's out there, NBA franchises, you want to follow the Pete Coles chemistry rule, okay? You can't be running dudes in and out and don't think it matters. It does. It shows up and you lose. That's the way to go, Pete. All right. Now, you've got an absolute scourge of non-revenue sports that's occurring. We're getting a lot of that action happening. It's beginning, it's expanding, and it's intensifying. We're going to keep an eye on it a little bit for you here. Here's our second Alabama getaway for you. The other one was about Aden Holloway last week, who had gotten caught with 2.1 pounds of marijuana right before the NCAA tournament. We were shocked. Certainly shocked and dismayed that they didn't find a way to get him back in uniform. I mean, what's 2.1 pounds of marijuana between friends? Yeah, come on, Pete. You never know. You never know. So, but our second Alabama.
That's just for the homies.
It's just for the sororities and the fraternities on campus. He was being a good guy. And so. But here it is anyway. Their football program is massive. Yeah. $147 million, $694,178. That's their total line for the year. Their profits were $834,698. These numbers are so big they're hard to read. All right. Their expenses were $82,859,480. So they came up with $64 million in profit in football. Okay, basketball for them, which these numbers are pretty strong. Their revenue was $24 million total. I'm not going to give into all the other numbers. Their expenses were $15 million, and then you wound up with a profit of $9,176,569. Everybody else was in the red. Every other sport was down.
Oh, in Alabama, yeah.
In Alabama, every other sport was not making any money. They were losing money, and it was from in the range of women's tennis was the lowest amount of money that they lost. They were in the negative $1,039,413. That's women's tennis. That's the lowest.
Wow.
Here's the biggest. Women's basketball in the hole, $4,669,495. Every other person in that range, every other team in that range was in the significant loss column. Okay? That's why, Pete, that's why. If everybody wants to know why is this going on, and that's why, because they came up with $64 million. And I can assure you that offset some of what was going on in terms of the other sports.
Yeah.
You probably have maybe in terms of them in basketball, they're in for $70 million on the plus side. Mm-hmm. And then everybody else,
siphons off of that. They siphon off of that.
Right. But did they siphon off all 70? Probably not. A chunk of that's still going to go to the school.
Yeah, but that's the top of the heap, though.
Number they're getting is lower and lower.
You get to a mid-range school in Division I, and their margins are probably a couple of thousand.
You're definitely dealing with different stuff.
Yeah.
Definitely dealing with different stuff. When you look at if you look at a mid-major balance sheet, it goes like this: everything zeroes out. Everything adds up to
If you're
zero.
lucky, yeah.
Especially if you're at a state school.
Yep.
No, because even if they overspend, they still got to pay the bill.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to slap them on the wrist later and say, hey, stay within your budget. But, you know, I'm not going to name his name, okay? Old school coach, all right? Big time guy. One of the best of the best, okay? He would tell his assistants after the season, okay, I need you guys to go down to Myrtle Beach, take your wives, take your girlfriends down there, and spend as much money as you need to spend. And they would say, Coach, we're out of money. We're over budget already. You know, we spent everything on our meals and scholarships and everything. He says, look, just do what I tell you to do. Okay, so they go down, they do what they're told, come home with receipts for everything. Boom, he walks into his boss's office, and the guy goes, you're over budget. He says, no, you just didn't give me enough. And I told you that. And here's what I'm talking about. And every single year, that's how the budget was increased. It's amazing. It was complete act of magicianry by this guy. He was an amazing coach, too. Really, really good coach. We're going to leave his name out of it, though. Here's some cash on the barrelhead for you, Pete, to explain how you got to all that other $64 million on the other side, and now it's coming back on this side. A.J. DeBonsa. I got him number one, Pete. I can announce that right now here on In the Zone. DeBonsa, no question, is our number one. $4.4 million it cost to move him out to BYU. $4.4 million freshman year. Imagine if he stays all four. Does BYU have that budgeted? Or is it option B money? That collective money, you know, where they can raise whatever they want off the side. Alumni are doing it. This group's doing it. That group's doing it. And boom, boom, boom. Now you got all this side money. And so that's where probably a good portion of that money comes from. JT Toppin, $3.0 million. Hurt himself and did not play in the playoffs or the NCAA tournament. That's where you come into this and everything is a gamble. All right, they put up $3 million for him, one of the best players in the country, no question about it. I'm not even arguing that that's not market value. What I'm saying is you didn't get any return on it at the end of the year because he got injured.
Yep.
And you don't have any way to compensate for that. You have no way to forecast that, no way to figure it out, and no way to get those dollars back and move those dollars around, because this is what they're going to want to do later on. This guy gets hurt out the door. We got $3 million locked in him in January. Can we dump him and bring somebody else? And you're going to wait till that goes down. Yaxel Lenneberg, $2.3 million. Michigan came in from UAB, Alabama, Birmingham. You know what, Pete? 2.3, but they won the national title with him. He was a significant player on a national title team. 2.3 million. Do you know how much they're going to make back from that national title run in terms of the jerseys they're selling now? Everything that's going on right now with that program, as hot as they are, this thing's, you know, so you look at the 2.3 million and people are scratching their head and they're going, but you know what? It worked. It worked. This one's a little low. Cam Boozer, $2.1 million. Duke is probably spreading their money around a little bit because they got some guys.
Yeah.
You know, Duke's got more than one guy. You know, they not only Cam Boozer, they had brought his twin brother along with him. You know, what was that a total of? You know, 3 and change?
Probably.
Tied up between the two of them. You know, these are the budgetary things you got to worry about. The good thing for Duke is Caden staying. Cam most likely going. Boogie, you got the boogie, Pete? You got some boogie? 2.1 on the boogie. I don't know, man. Maybe that's why Cal said it's okay, because I'm going to bring in Malik Thomas and I'm going to bring in Darius Acuff, and they both are, in my opinion, they're both better than Boogie Flan, both of those players. Now you got Boogie out there going to Florida trying to say, well, we're going to win it again. They're going to be the backcourt with Xavion Lee. Didn't really, you know, eclipse for them this year, but $2.1 million out of Stepinac High School in Westchester County. Donovan Dent, $2.0 million. Jaden Quaintance, this was Grand Theft Auto right here, Pete. $2.0 million. He played like 4 games.
Yeah, is that the guy that kept taking himself out?
We call him on this show Jaden Acquaintance. Stops by once in a while. PJ Haggerty, $1.7 million. He's on the move. He's on the move. He went from, let me figure this out if I can. Yeah, he went from K-State, Kansas State. Now he's on the move, and he's going to play buckyball. Going to go out to Texas A&M and play buckyball. Okay, LeBaron Phelan, same numbers. Now, here's what I want to give you in terms of that and give you some perspective about that. DeBonsa, when we talk about $4.4 million, he averaged 25 points a game, 6.8 rebounds, 3.7 assists. I won't go through all of them. I'll give you the top 5. Toppin, then you can make your decisions about whether this was money well spent or not. You can't factor for injury. So with Toppin, you got to just count him on the numbers. All right? He averaged 21 points, 10.8 rebounds, 2.1 assists. He played 25 games. It's good money. It's pretty good money. Double-double. Averaged a double-double, and that team was really flying when they had him. Yaxel, 15, a little bit low on the scoring, 6.8 rebounds, though, 3.2. He played in 40 games. The 15 is low because they got some other people on that team. They got other people on that team. If he was on a different team, he'd average 25 with his eyes closed. Boozer, where do you hear these numbers, Pete? 22.5, 10.2, and 4.1. He shot 55% from the floor. Those are good numbers. Well spent money, Duke. Here's Boogie. This is why I didn't boogie down, and I don't think Calipari did either. 11.6 points, 2.5, and 3.5 assists. 24% from three-point range. Okay, let's move. Let's groove. All right. The Big Ten, Pete, this is what we talked about. Hold your hat. Let that money single that you got, let it rain, Pete. Because as I go through this, we're going to send down the dollars, baby. Big Ten distributing a record $1.37 billion in revenue, making it rain all over those Big Ten schools. Now you know why Rutgers hung around, Pete. Now you know why Rutgers hung around. But somehow that's going to make some of these teams that had the deficits, that's going to make them whole. That's going to make them whole. I'll tell you right now.
That's crazy.
Here's one for you, Pete. You're going to like this because you live in that media world a little bit. Amazon is going to air 3 Duke basketball games in the very near future.
Well, they aired almost all the first round of the playoffs.
They're taking everything. Amazon's taking everything.
Bezos got a little pocket change kicking around.
You think?
Yeah.
That's why they want to end billionaires, Pete. They got way too much going on. All right, the Big O on the go, Pete. I love this. Olivier Roux. We followed him on this show. 7'9". He was at the University of Florida. Big, can dunk. They didn't really go to him. They redshirted him, I think, for a year, and then this year he played. He's on the move, Pete. He's going to UC Irvine out in California. At least my man knows how to pick climate. He's going to go from Florida. He's not going to get roughed up in North Dakota. He's going to head out to Cali. 7'9", bro. I'm the Big O, and I'm on the go. What does that mean? It means he's transferring, and he is going from becoming a gator to an anteater. He's now an anteater, Pete.
Somebody had a bigger bag for him.
Oh, I don't know about that. I think on this one, you might have dropped a bag here.
Okay.
Yeah, on this one, they never played him. And going to Irvine,
He will play, yeah.
They ain't got the same money that Florida has.
Yep.
So I'm going to say that's a negative on the bag, Pete, just to be. And you know what it is too, Pete?
I like to point those things out, though, because people are moving around for different reasons now when there's no restrictions anymore. You don't have to wait a year or anything like that. You go for what suits you the best.
Okay, I'm going to give you the underbelly. The Big O was not immune to being told by the coaching staff at Florida, we got to free up some cash. You got to go.
Really?
We need a scholarship spot. You're an anteater now. We got a nice spot for you out in Irvine. That's not out of the realm of possibility.
No, it's not. No, it's now a business, so why not?
I'll come back at a question for you. What percentage of the portal do you think jumped? What percentage of the portal do you think was shoved?
I think it's probably about 25% shoved.
Shoved.
Yep.
It's a good number.
Because now we're in a business.
Yeah, and I think
And
it's higher.
It's not about. It's no longer about. Hey, it's what's best for you, and no, it's about what's best for business.
And now you get to say that with impunity.
Yeah.
Right? As long as now it's what we have to do what's best for everything, for everybody. Well, once you can start that mantra, believe me, you're on a downhill slope. So I just wanted to make note of it is also Peter the Anteater. Okay? That's big. That's big. But Olivier Roux, 7'9", keep an eye on him. He can dunk with almost not leaving the floor. I don't know why Florida didn't want to keep him and maybe see, but man, 7'9", Pete. And he's not, he's not immobile. He can move a little bit. All right.
I went to high school with a kid from Germany that was 6'8", and he was tall as he could touch the rim. Couldn't play basketball to save his life.
It happens. It happens. I just don't know that this guy is that. I think he's all right. Maybe the move to Irvine is to say, I want to see what I can do.
Yeah, maybe.
I want to try.
Yourself.
I want to try and get good.
Yep.
All right. I got my Power 8 here. Did you throw them up on? Did you see my email, or did I send it to you too late?
Nope.
There we go, baby. I only put up 8 this week, folks, because there's only 8 left. And there's been some movement and shifting in my thinking, so I wanted to provide it to you in what we now term the Power 8. It's usually Power 15, but right now there's only 8 left, so let's just get more in depth with each one. Right here, we've talked about this group a little bit earlier in the show, but really something to behold. A really, really great franchise, well-constructed. They're now going to get a lottery pick. I mean, it's crazy where this franchise is pointed right now, and it's good. Good for the NBA. It's always nice to have a team, I think, that excels, that gives everybody else that North Star. This is what you're aiming for now. This is what you're shooting for. These are the guys. These are the dogs right now. And, man, they're doing a good job of it. I really, I can really commend them because I love their NBA persona. I like the way they're approaching this thing. I really think this team has a lot, and I think they're going to be tough to beat. All right, I moved my friends, and they're up. They swept. They swept right through the Suns 4-0, and they're up on the Lakers right now. We'll see a little bit more of that tonight, but right now they're cooking the Lakers too. So we're going to see it. The only thing on that one is we'll see if the calls continue with SGA and some of that, what they consider to be flopping. All right, we got the Knicks in the number 2 spot, Pete. They're playing great basketball right now. Really got to give it to them. I think the one thing that's been great, my man Clyde Frazier, I got to run basketball camp with him. They're showing him on the show. They're interviewing him a lot. They're bringing back Clyde. He is the coolest thing ever, as has always been, and I love the guy. I'm so glad to see the Garden alive and Clyde back in the spotlight. I love it. We have Clyde, and you don't. And so that's basically Game 6, with the Hawks. The Knicks just caught on fire in that series right there. You could see it. It clicked. It carried over to Philly in Game 1. Last night in the Garden, Philly came to fight, gave a really, really good effort of it, but the Knicks were victorious. Brunson is playing at a very high level right now. He's leading the team. The Big Cat has been very, very good, and I think some of the ancillary players, they're finally getting Bridges to make some shots. They're getting Anunoby to get in and be a little bit of a piece. They're solid. They got some good people. The only thing is do they get worn down like they did last year? Because they're kind of a tight rotation. We'll see. All right? But they're really, really doing some good stuff. Minnesota Timberwolves, I have them in 3. I got chastised today because people said they were a little too high. I put this together, folks, last night before I got to see the game. The game was late. The NBA's putting these games on at midnight, at 11 o'clock at night. I watched the game. I didn't. At the end of it, I had already done the 8 and put it out. And so if I had seen that, I think the Spurs looked good last night, and they handled these guys. But they also got what they needed to accomplish, the Timberwolves, when they punched the Spurs in the mouth in Game 1.
Yeah.
And so that's still a pretty good accomplishment. Right now they're coming around, and they've got some good pieces. They've got some good defenders on this team. They've got superstar Anthony Edwards. Keep an eye on them. They got the home court break that they were looking for. I got the Pistons in the 4 spot. They're really, really have like turned a corner here. Like in the Magic series, I was like, wow, they're going to get bounced. They were down 3-1 in that series. But then they came back. Since that moment, they kind of looked over the edge into the abyss, and they've come back. And I really, really didn't think that they would get clicked on like they have, but they're playing good basketball right now. Cavaliers are in trouble. Harden's one of those guys. He comes and he goes sometimes in big games, and so they're going to have to figure that out as well, too. The front lines also, the Pistons, were all over the rim the other night, and the Cavaliers are going to have to play a more physical brand of defense and a little bit more physicality, if you will, on the rebounding side as well. Cavaliers are in the 5 spot. They got punched hard, by the Raptors. They got pushed hard by the Raptors in that series, and they exposed them a little bit for some things that they've got going on. They're down 1-0, but they haven't really, clicked on in that series yet with Harden and Donovan Mitchell, which has been a good one, too, for them. That didn't really go off well for them. We'll keep an eye on that. The Spurs, 6 after winning last night. You might want to say it, but you got punched, and Wembanyama can go out in a minute's time, and if that does happen, you're in serious trouble. That's been proven over and over again with this team, obviously built around the big man. But I also want to say that I think this Timberwolves team is really, really good. And when they're going to get home now, if they come back and it's 3-1, it's going to be a rough road for this Spurs team because they're very young. They're still very young. They've got Harper, they got Castle, they got great players, but they're all young. Wembanyama, second-year guy. So you got like a bunch of guys that are just in their second and third years of the NBA. First real go-round with a tough, let's put up your Dukes playoff fight, and we're going to see how it goes. I will be interested to keep that watched. Los Angeles Lakers, no Luka. Can't figure it out, but he's hurt, he's out, and he hasn't been around. I don't think you're going to see him, especially if they go down, a significant way in this series. OKC, just kind of toying with them. They had them by 18. They were up big in the game, and it's just clicking on all cylinders with that OKC team. And as I said, for the Lakers, it's a landslide. They just have too much for you. Right now, the Sixers, I've got them in an 8 spot. They looked good last night. I love this team. I'm not disparaging them in any way. I do see them in an 8 spot, but I love the way they're playing basketball. Nobody thought they'd be alive right now.
Yeah, right.
Nobody thought they'd be still cooking. So good stuff, and what a great performance I thought they put on in the Garden last night, Madison Square Garden, the biggest dance floor of all in which to go into. The Knicks had smoked them in Game 1. The Knicks had smoked the Hawks. Looked like they were going to get ready to start going and gearing up to that high level of playoff basketball. And the Sixers came out and fought them every step of the way last night. Oubre was good. Paul George gave him some trouble. Maxey really, really wore out some of the Knicks guards last night. They got to figure that out before too long. All right, Orlando Magic, they just got knocked out by the Pistons. And this is something that, it happens, but then sometimes you shake your head, but then sometimes you don't shake your head because when you find out some of the stuff that was occurring, you say, okay, that makes a little bit sense. But anyway, Orlando Magic, a young, dynamic team. They've got some good pieces in here, and they had the Pistons cooked. Going into that series, they were up 3-1. Wagner got hurt. And when that happened, they just didn't have the answer for that. And that happens from time to time. But after the series ended, they lost, the Pistons advanced, and they went ahead and fired their head coach, Jamal Mosley, which is a playoff team. You know, you and I talked about the Magic all year in our Power 15, where they were always in there, hanging around, never really going too up or too down, just kind of staying consistent. But again, we also alluded to the fact that they didn't have a lot built around Banchero and built around Wagner. And so one of those two pieces goes. Obviously, it's going to be a constraint, going to be a problem for the team. But again, what was thrown around on social media about the thing was that there was other issues that led to this, and that's pretty much why they wound up going in the direction that they did. Pete, we talked about Jaylen Brown a little bit earlier in the show. He got hit for $50,000, big money. Not for him. For him, that's chump change.
Nope.
When he changed his uniform, he made that much in interest, but they did hit him for $50K because he was very critical of the officiating. I got to be honest, though, man. You know, anybody who's been watching this, if you watched that Knicks game last night, you're just looking there going, what are they calling?
He probably wasn't wrong. We still can't talk about it.
He wasn't wrong, but he did kind of get over the top a little bit with it. You know, he was very overt with it. They do have rules against it.
Yeah.
But he'll write the $50,000 check for no problem. I guess my problem with it is I know how much money he has. I know what kind of contract he has, and it's enormous. You know, I get that. But $50,000? Really? For being critical of somebody that maybe there was good reason for that? You know? I don't get that at all. You know, and especially where we live in this country,
that's what happened
that you can't express yourself.
Yeah, but you're a monopoly.
Your freedom of expression is limited in the NBA.
It's a monopoly.
No question. And you work for them.
And it's a private business. Yep.
No question.
Yep.
No question. Entertainment business. We're reminded of that.
I don't disagree with you about him
having
a legitimate gripe, but if you let one player do it, then they all do it.
I agree. I just thought $50K, you know, but to these guys,
I think their fee schedule, well, to some of the smaller guys, lower level guys, it's a lot of money.
Yeah, and that's why those guys don't ever open their mouth.
Right.
They don't want to get hit, you know. The upcoming draft is coming in the zone soon. We've been pretty clear about where we are with that. Right now, we have A.J. Debonsa as our number one, and I'll go out on a limb right now and say that things would have to dramatically change for me in my brain. I can't say that won't happen, but I like Caleb Wilson from North Carolina in the number 2 spot. I got to give you a 1-2 punch right there, folks. Boom, boom. Debonsa, Wilson. Right now, we'll build out from there. All right, let's talk about the playoffs in general, Pete, just a little bit. Right now, you got the Thunder and the Lakers. The Thunder are up 1-0. Lakers never in game one. Can they get back home and kind of get a game? Maybe, you know, but the way this Thunder team is focused, as we alluded to, I see this being a sweep. I see them taking the Lakers quick. And if anything happens to LeBron James, you know, that's going to make it even quicker. You know, one of the things that I thought was a little humorous was the NBA using LeBron and Bronny as their marquee people to show as their playoff guys up on the TV in their little logo thing. And I just thought that was pretty much hilarious, but we won't get into that too much. I think that's not going to be a good series, folks. I think you're looking at the Thunder right now on the business side of things. They want to draw rest. They want to get home. They want to make sure this thing's over. And also, right now, without all of the NBA machinations about what they normally do, we got this bracket over here and we got this bracket over here, and you won't know your opponent up until right before. Right now, they know who's next.
Yep.
Right now, they know who's next. OKC can now polish off the Lakers and start to do their due diligence on that series that's going to prevail, who's going to prevail, and bring them their next opponent. It'll be the Spurs. It'll be the Timberwolves. And I would say, just on the short of it, I would say they're probably hoping for the Timberwolves to beat the Spurs because the Spurs handled them all year. That'll be interesting, one to keep an eye on. But right now, let's jump down into that series, the Spurs and the Wolves. Man, the Wolves came out and gave it to them in game one, and they looked really, really good. The Spurs came back and kicked back. and came out with their game 2 and came out. So that's with the dynamic and the tension. They took a punch in the nose that game 1. Having the Wolves come out of there and knocking them out like that, right quick, boom, that had to sting. But then when you saw this team turn around in game 2 and really, really punch back, I liked that. And so I think if they can stay healthy, stay together, they're going to be able to survive this series and give OKC everything they can handle in that final. That's what I'm kind of rooting for. I've been wanting to see that series all year long because that's really the only challenge in the West that I could see for OKC at all. Lakers ain't going to challenge them. And I don't know that the Timberwolves do either. I think the Spurs are a much better challenge, but we'll give that some thought. The other thing that could be looming, though, is you have SGA, who many, many people consider to be the number 1 player in the NBA right now. MVP most likely this year, given that game restriction piece that went on there. You'll have to see who else is in contention right now even, you know. But you'd say he's number 1. Anthony Edwards is that type of lead guard that really would be a great matchup there, SGA and Edwards, if that series was to evolve. So I see that. The Spurs got some young guards, and I think they're going to have some trouble with the OKC, but they didn't this year, so that's going to be something to keep an eye on. But that would be some matchup if it was Edwards and it was the other way around with SGA, and it's definitely going to be SGA in my mind. We're just waiting to see on the other side what comes of it. And what I think the Thunder are also hoping for, not only do you hope for rest, but you hope for no rest for your opponent. You want to drag that game to Game 7. You want to have them go all the way out, expend all their resources, expend all their energies, travel back and forth, and keep that going as far as, especially when you get into games 5, 6, and 7, where it's home, away, and home, or the other way around, away, home, and away. Then you got to deal with it either way, But this series could go down to 7 also, so that'll be interesting to watch. Knicks and the Sixers. Last night was interesting dynamic. Adem Bona, people will remember, I was high on him in our draft. I had him drafted a lot higher than other people did. He came in and gave the Sixers some great, great minutes last night to start that game with Embiid being out. And so that was a really good pickup for them because not a natural center. But the Knicks kind of got into foul trouble with Cat early. He had to go out. That's when the Sixers really started to assert themselves and really started to have a little bit of control. The Knicks are a veteran squad. They make baskets when they need baskets. They get down and they fight back. If they're down 3, they're down 5. Next thing you know, you look up at the scoreboard and they're tied. So there's a lot of fight in this Knicks team that I like, and a lot of fight from their players that have been together a long time. Some of these guys played in college, for crying out loud. So it's a really good unit, a lot of good fight in them, and they have, at least what I can see, they've got a great dog mentality about them right now, the Knicks. And so I think they're going to polish the Sixers. But going back to Philly right now, the Knicks are going to have to step up. Embiid or no Embiid. Yeah. This is what also happens on the other side of it. If you're the coach of the Knicks and you hear Joel Embiid's not going to play, you're not worried about Joel Embiid anymore, but you do start to worry about your team because your team is going to hear no Embiid and they go, we'll beat him easy. And so they let down. And there was a little bit in that Knicks team last night where they let down because there was no Embiid. And you need to stay up. Embiid or no Embiid, you need to be ready to go. If you're a serious playoff team and contender, you need to run through. You can't have any of this, oh, well, he's playing and he's not playing, and look at the scoreboard, and, wow, we beat him by 10 when he didn't play. None of that matters right now.
OKC doesn't care about any of it.
None of that matters, and you better believe it, Pete. OKC ain't thinking that way.
Nope.
And then you go, let's drop it to the Cavs and the Pistons. This is a good series, a really, really good series. But the Pistons right now look like they made it over the top of that Magic series, and they're in a different altitude right now. I always thought that the Cavaliers would come out in that game 1 and really fight. I didn't see it. I'm going to keep watching this series because I think that's another one. Again, you see the Knicks over there, that dynamic. They're saying, man, if we could just go into Philly and go boom, boom, out go the lights, we finish them, sweep them, and we're Gucci. And then you're hopeful that this other series, the Cavaliers or the Pistons, gets dragged down to 7. You hope they get bogged down into it, and that's what you're praying for. Anything can happen, but right now we're going to give it to you, Pete. Everybody, pay attention. We're going to give it to you straight up. We got the Thunder. The Thunder are going to take it in 4. The Lakers will not win a game against this team.
Yep.
Number 2, the Wolves in 6. I got the Wolves in 6. That's going to be a little controversial. Spurs fought back last night. It's 1-1. But I got the Wolves in 6. They're going to go back to Minnesota. They got some things that upset this Spurs team. They got Randall. They got Edwards. But they got a couple of things. Gobert's a defensive play. They've got some good pieces. And there's some of these pieces aren't fitting in the way that the Spurs had hoped, I think. All right, I got the Knicks in 6. All right, they want to go in and get it in 4, but I think it's going to take 6. And I got the Pistons in 7, Pete. It's going to be a drag down, knockdown, big fight. All right, we got a few minutes left. Kentucky star Adrian Odie Smith passed away at age 89. He played on their national championship team in 1958. Here's one for you, Pete. You're going to love it. Salu Nyang, set to commit to who? LSU. You better believe it. They're going to do whatever they got to do at LSU. Let's put it that way. All right? And their coach was caught on wiretaps before. They let him go. He went out to McNeese, NC State. Now he's back home with an NIL bag, which is, if he had that when he first started, he wouldn't have had to call Adidas. So he's got $7 million for this guy. They're going to do for Salu Niang. What's good about him? He plays for Virtus Bologna. And this is something that I don't know where this money's coming from, but this is an interesting one. He plays for this team, Virtus Bologna, that I assume is in Italy, set to receive a $500,000 buyout to release him from his contract. Now you're starting to see this. Our other colleges now, mid-majors, now going to want that same contract buyout when one of their players gets poached. Because right now, this team in Italy is getting $500K. From who? I don't know. But somebody's giving them $500,000 to release this kid who was selected by the Cavaliers with the 58th pick in 2025.
How can you?
Pete, here's my other question, and this might be for food for thought for another show. Can he get drafted now twice?
Yeah.
Can he go back into the draft now and say, I want to be redrafted? I was 58th. I don't think I got a good shake. I want to go to LSU at $7 million for a few years, and then I'm going to come out. Because they're
just
talking
doing
about
judge shopping. You can do that.
And they did it. They did it down. They did it down there the other way.
Yeah.
But here's the other thing too: is when they're going $7 million on this guy, what does the rest of your budget look like?
I know.
Right? They said they have one player on their team right now. It's this guy. They had nobody. They must have cleaned out everybody, or everybody wanted to clear out. I don't know. You would assume that some of those guys, no, probably, maybe, some of those guys might have been there from his first go-round at LSU. Is that possible? I think it is possible. But now you got him, and he's back at LSU. They clean out everybody. But you're going to put $7 million on one player? What's your total budget going to be? Now, they said it was $7 million on DeBonsa too, so you really don't know. But the beautiful thing is, he was selected by the Cavaliers. It's a good one. I love it. Former Creighton center Antoine Jones has entered the transfer portal for a 9th year of college basketball. I think he's taking our In the Zone award, Pete. Man who sticks around. We love it. 7 schools in 9 years: Memphis, Creighton, UCF, Carolina, Greensboro. Holy smokes, this guy gets around. Okay. Here's what we were talking about earlier. Joe Mazzulla, the first coach in NBA history to lose 3 series when they had a 90% probability of winning. 3 series. Also, I hate to draw it up this way for Celtics fans, but that occurred in his first 4 years. 3 of his first 4 years. The other one was a championship. The Orlando Magic, Pete, this one's tough. I'm going to close with it. Orlando Magic went 45 minutes in between baskets in their game with the Pistons, from 8:46 p.m. to 9:31 p.m. 23 straight misses were there by any playoff team around. All right, I said I was going to close with that, Pete. I need one 30-second segment more because this is something I mentioned last year. First year NBA salary. Pick 1 through 5, you get between $11 million and $7 million. If you're pick 6 through 14, you get between $7 million and $4 million. Now you know why guys are staying in the college ranks. Pick 15 through 20, $4 million to $3 million. Pick 21 to 30, you're getting between $3 million and $2 million. Pete, what a pleasure to be back with you in the zone. We'll see you next week, folks, when we got more for you on the NBA draft. You're in the zone.